Hey everybody, this is Kevin from the warehouse. I just wanted to give you a quick little fourth quarter strategy to round out the end of this year and to set you up to win in 2016. So I've been thinking about this because when I have conversations at the beginning of the year each year, there always seems to be two kind of dominant themes. One is regret over the drift that took place the year at the end of last year, usually in the fourth quarter sometime. And then there's that level of anticipation that they wanted to have going into the new year, excitement that kind of fell off because they feel like they're behind because they're still picking up the pieces from the fourth quarter. So I thought, well, you know what? Let's do something. Let's put together a fourth quarter strategy to kick off here in a week, the fourth quarter. So here we go. So first of all, what we want to take a look at are two dominant actions. The two dominant actions we want to be able to look at is one is rewind and the other is to review. And with that in mind, what we want to do is focus on the fourth quarter from the last 3 years and the first quarter from the last 3 years. That way, when we look at it, we can address some critical questions that just arise up from that. It gives us a chance to go back and relive when we rewind and to be able to review and ask, what would we do different? So the first thing we want to look for is issues. What are the issues that are predominant and, more important, are patterned? What are the things that we're doing over and over, it seems like, every year in this quarter? Second, what are the trends? What's happening currently that may not have applied in years past that may apply in this season? We want to look at our behaviors. How do we feel we were doing with our behaviors on our teams? Were we really focused? Were we really doing what we needed to be doing behaviorally in our departments or on our teams or in our organization or even for ourselves? How about outcomes? Was it really clear about what I really wanted to see happen in October? What did I want to see happen in November and December? Were my outcomes really set? And then go back to your feelings. You know, there were certain things that you felt. Drift, most often, there's a sense of frustration attached to it. It's like I can't seem to grip a hold of anything. And quite frankly, you know, once Christmas starts to creep in and everyone's mind starts to go towards the end of the year, we really do tend to tail off. And then and our feelings kind of enter into the fray. It gets all over the place because there's so much on our minds. Next to regrets. What are the things when you look back at those pages? There will always be something that will jump out to you, either a decision that you failed to make in time at the right time because it was near the end of the year, and who makes that decision at that time of the year? And the other side of it that says, hey, what are the regrets in terms of myself? What are the ways that I failed to grow during that season in terms of maybe boundaries or accountability or purpose? Whatever that is, those things are going to jump out at you, which set us up perfectly for the next part. And that's where our attention is. Our attention is connected to our awareness. So once our awareness is set, we start looking at saying, what do we need to focus on? What do we need to focus on, and what do we need to attack? With that said, there's a 4-part strategy to attack this. And we want to look at those 4 things. But out of this, there's going to be something that's going to pop, something that's going to get your attention. So let's take a look at that something, whether it's a production issue, whether it's a sales issue, whether it's a personnel issue, whether it's a development issue, a personal development issue. Somewhere along the way there's pain. And so let's take a look at that pain and let's address it systematically, okay, and strategically. So the first part of the strategy is we want to develop a dominant focus. What is the area that sticks out? Let's just say it. Maybe in some cases it might be 2 or 3, but let's try to keep it to at least 2 dominant focuses, 2 areas we're really going to dig down on into fourth quarter. And then we're going to take a look at what are my monthly intentions. If this is my dominant focus, if it's sales per se, then what are the monthly intentions I need to have in October? Maybe October, we're going to be ridiculous about prospecting. So what do we need to do? What is that intention? My intentions are that we're going to double our amount of prospecting. We used to make 50 calls, now we're going to make 100 calls. Whatever that is, what we want to do is be very intentional about what we want in that month. So we might put the month of October and put our intentions. November and put our intentions. You could put even December and put our intentions. Then what we want to do is look at the next part, is take a look and say, hey, what are the weekly triggers? Now, weekly triggers are important because these are kind of the things that we put in that start or launch a behavior. And one of the things that we want to be looking at is saying, hey, look, you know, with sales, maybe our Tuesday and Thursday stand-up sales meeting is going to be the trigger for our prospecting on those 2 days where we're just going to focus from 2 o'clock in the afternoon until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And our goal is to be able to prospect maybe 45 or 50 people during that block, and with hopes of setting up maybe 2 or 3 different types of meetings. I don't know what the conversion rate is that you would want to set, but set those intentions. And then set those intentions for the follow-up. What are the other triggers that go with the other parts of what I'm wanting to attack here or what I'm intentional about? So if my intentions are, we're going to ridiculously follow up, or our intentions maybe in sales might be, we're going to activate our base. We're going to go into our existing client base and really seek creative ways to get referrals. How do we add value to our existing customers so that they want more of what we have? And not only that, tell others about us too. So when we start thinking about that, how do we generate that? And we want triggers to do that. It could be stand-up meetings. It could be literally something that an email you send out that activates. It could be something that you want them individually to do. So it might be, maybe they stand up in the office and they go, ah! And then that just starts it. They do like the primal scream, and that's the trigger. And maybe, I don't know what that is, but I'm sure you could come up with a good one. Make it fun, because I think that's going to drive the next part, and that is high value actions. What are the behaviors that we want to have that are consistent with that? Let me tell you something. If you just alone really understand what your dominant focuses are, really map out what your intentions are, and then set up the right cues and triggers to launch those things, and really begin to just measure behavior. If you measure behavior, if you say, here are the 3 behaviors that are critical to this intention, here's how we're going to set it up. We want to activate it with a cue. No matter what we do, we're going to expect those behaviors. When those behaviors transpire, we should get relevant results. Not results, but relevant results. Relevant results are results that are always connected to something specific, like an intention. Or we're going to monitor our cues. How are we activating our cues? Or our results are going to be on our behaviors. What type of behaviors gather the right types of prospects? So with all of that said, there's a lot of good energy here, and at the end of the day, you may find yourself developing your own in-house sales strategy that you learned out of trying to really take the 4th quarter of this given year. Now let me give you the bottom lines, because there's some really important things here, and there's a huge invisible. The invisible is this. You have to position and you have to pivot. Now, what this says here, this is a strategic action, okay? But at the end of the day, the invisible behind this is saying, hey, look, when we do these things, it positions us for a pivot. And I'm going to tell you what the pivot is, and it is connected right down here to that invisible. And the invisible is this. Hey, most people don't position themselves in December. Here's what happens. When I have conversations, their regrets tend to be about completing work or closing on deals that they started in December, that they should have closed in December, that they should have finished. The result was the regret of really not getting a real accurate January, a new year, 1st quarter in the new year. They're in January and they're working on stuff that they didn't really finish, they didn't really push through and close on. The result ended up being missed opportunity in January, because most people who put us off during that time frame come back in January wanting it now. They feel behind. Here's our opportunity to dive in and get that rescued right from the get-go, knowing into January what we'd have to do in our production focuses, right? So let's come back to ask this question. If everyone else contracts during that time, if everyone else goes through that drift and you don't go through that drift, what if you gain just 2%? What if you gained in January, you came in January totally locked and loaded, ready to go, and you gain 2%. Let's just do the math on that for 2016. If you grew 2% over the course of the year, what are you going to be looking like at the end of 2016? Because here's what I know. If everyone else is contracting, you can expand. If you close everything, if your intentions are to close everything by the second week of December, hardcore, and to spend with some intense cues, okay? Going in some intense behaviors, going in the last part of the year, you could prospect your beginning of 2016. Again, this is with the sales focus. You could prospect at the beginning of 2016, which means that the work you're doing in 2016 is 2016's work, not 2015's leftovers. Now, put that in your pipe and smoke it, because here's what I know. When I'm sitting down and I'm doing the work that I should have done and finished before, I know I'm behind. That's no place to be at the beginning of 2016. You don't want to be there. I don't want to be there. And so guess what? What if we did this? What would happen? What would happen if we really dove into this? And maybe my focuses are different, but at the end of the day, I'm going to be working on the right things the right way to get relevant results. Right things, right way, relevant results. So at the end of the deal, here's what it looks like. Hey, we're going to have a true 2016, and not just a true one. We have to understand and this is the bottom line, accurate, relevant growth is keeping 216 and 216. So I don't know if this helps you in any way. I'm just firing this out to you, but I want you to know something. I'm for you, I'm thinking about you, and I'm doing everything I can do to help you go to the next level. Hey, let's attack the fourth quarter. Let's end the year so we can have a Merry Christmas, because that is a true intention for the month of December. Hey, I can't wait. Fourth quarter starts pretty soon. We're going to have some relevant conversations. Stay after it. Be ready to roll.